I was born with a strange gift. The ability to see what no human being has ever seen before.
Hello, guys, and welcome to another NGB video preview. This time we're looking at Beyond Two Souls. Can't wait to play the final release of this game. I played preview code. I'm a lucky guy. I know Gary's jealous. Gary, how jealous are you?
Very so jealous. I'm not actually in this call, to be honest. You're a lucky man.
I am honored to be playing so far the preview code of Beyond Two Souls. I'm a huge fan of Quantic Dream and what David Cage does in terms of his vision of bringing like gaming and cinema close together. So yeah, let's talk about preview code, Gary. So this is about a third of the game. I'm not gonna mention any spoilers in terms of the plot. But what I am going to mention is that the whole setup is really, really good. Even from when you load up the game, it's like got a very whole cinematic feel to it. You just get sort of thrust into the game. There's no do you want to start a new game or go into options. You choose the options just before you go into the game, so it's all seamless,
Cool.
which is really cool. Obviously, when you save it and then come back to load it again, there's the menus and stuff like continue and whatnot. But when you first start it, it just sort of gets you into the game after picking your language and whatnot. So that's a nice start. And the transition from gameplay from cutscene to gameplay and then gameplay to cutscene is fantastic. I think that's always been a positive of Quantic Dream, and that was the same within Heavy Rain as well. And speaking of Heavy Rain, people will obviously compare this to Heavy Rain, Gary. Um, it's obvious, right? They're going to compare it.
Yeah, it's still got that Heavy Rain feel to it. But obviously you've played it, so you can tell the
Yes.
differences between the two.
So
I loved Heavy Rain. I thought it was amazing.
yeah,
So I'm so looking forward to Beyond Two Souls.
yes. So it's got the Heavy Rain, the similar control scheme to Heavy Rain. That's I'm not going to deny it all. It's got the prompts on screen, and you basically do what's on screen. Um, but the difference here is uh, the story, obviously, and the
Mhm.
fact that Jodie, who's the main character played by Ellen Page, superbly, I must say,
Amazing.
really, really good, is that she has a friend, an entity known as Aiden, and she's had that since she was a child. So you basically in gameplay, what you do when you need to use Aiden's powers, like he's an entity, you can sort of grab things, throw them away. I'm pretty sure you've seen that in previous trailers and everything like that as well. So you press triangle on the pad um, to go into Aiden's view, which kind of gives you like a distorted view of where you are in the environment, and then a blue dot will come up on things that Aiden can interact with. And then you press the R1 button, and that sort of grabs hold of that item or object, whether it be a chair or a car or whatever. And then you move the right and left analog sticks to do certain motions.
Mm.
Um, and again, it's not too complicated, Gary. It's quite a simple system. But the way it's integrated into the game, it's very simple to transition between Jodie and Aiden, and it really, really works well. I think you saw a bit of Beyond at a few different events. I mean, what's your general feeling of it in terms of how it looks and how it plays?
Oh, it looked incredible. The section I can't remember if it was last year's Gamescom or last year's
Yeah,
E3, but it was the motorcycle section. I
yeah.
think you may have seen that as well.
So that's playable in this code. So that's
Okay.
where she's running away in the woods, I think it is, and
Yeah,
then
that's right.
she comes across a couple of cops and takes she gets Aiden to take control of one of the cops, and she then basically takes the bike and sort of runs off.
And that
It's
looked incredible.
yeah, it's intense as hell. So what I loved about Heavy Rain is the way it used the control pad to make you feel like you were connected to the character. Like
Mm.
every action you were making with the control pad, kind of mimicked what the character was doing on screen. So like you had to hold R1 and then while holding R1 press L1, press triangles, like to do like these difficult motions. So it's like really tricky kind of thing, like to hold them all at once.
Mm.
And they've got that in here as well for those tricky actions that you have to do. And then stuff will come up on the screen like really quickly as well, so you have to react instantly almost like, oh crap, what do I do? Um, and it's really the way they sort of play on that. It really makes you feel connected, and it was the same in Heavy Rain as well.
Mm.
But it's sort of ramped up to another level in Beyond, which is really good. Again, going back to the whole setup, so you start. So I think David Cage said before that you'll play several years of Jodie's life, and the way it's set up is that you don't start from the beginning. It's like you start from the end, kind of thing almost, but you don't get any spoilers here or anything like that. You start from the end, and then you work your way through different moments in her life.
Okay. I think it's
Um,
15 years
15 years, yeah.
if I'm correct.
Um, so there's quite a few moments where you go back to her early childhood, and it really, in terms of the story, it really makes you realize what she's been through from a child to like where she is now,
Mm.
and the effects it had on her, and even as an adult, um, has effects on her. But there's one particular scene in the preview, a scenario in the preview code that stands out where she's like sort of a young teen, goes to her first birthday party, kind of like forced to almost go there. Who's by Willem Dafoe, whose character's name is Nathan Dawkins. He's I guess he's looking into like all this paranormal stuff, um, and trying to help Jodie out. But sometimes Aiden's like really difficult to control for her. It just sort of takes over.
Mm.
So yeah, he takes her to his birthday party, leaves her there, and basically the kids making fun out of her and stuff, and she gets revenge. I'm not gonna say how she gets revenge, but the thing is, you have the choice as well, do you, to do certain things or to not do certain things.
Oh, so
Um,
you don't actually have to
you
do.
don't have to, no, you
You
don't
can
have to.
decide.
So
Ah,
you've got
cool.
um, yeah, so you've got choice, and again, that's a part that that was played upon quite heavily in Heavy Rain, and again, it's more than enough present so far from what I've played in Beyond as well. Um, so how does that sound, Gary?
It sounds awesome. Every time I see sections of this game or just snippets of people talking about it, it just sounds incredible. Like I say previously, I really, really enjoyed Heavy Rain. I just thought it was something fresh, something new. This looks like it's sort of taking a next step up with
Yeah.
Heavy Rain.
Is there is there any particular questions you might want to ask me? Go on,
Um,
throw
it,
a
it's
question at me.
it's mainly to do with the story. Am I right in saying that it's basically you've got to find out who is it Aiden or Aiden,
Aiden.
who what his true sort of meaning is? Is that right? Or
Essentially, from again, this is a third of the game, so I don't know what happens later on. But from what I've played so far, it's the first third of the game kind of tells you almost his origin and sort of
mm,
and how Jodie's coped with him being there since childhood and what effects it's had on her. And then there's a whole part comes in where Willem Dafoe's character gets involved and he's trying to help her out. But then obviously, as you've seen in trailers, like she's on the run from the police
mm,
essentially. Because I think there was another section that they showed off was in the train, and that leads up to the motorcycle part you were talking about. And there's a few other sections as well, which are really intense. There was one which actually, uh, um, and sort of part of my French here, scared the fuck out of me. It was towards the end of the preview code, but it was intense. It was
wow.
really intense. And I know you've seen trailers, and I think people were a bit sort of weirded out, like she's training in the military kind of thing.
Mm,
But that all makes sense when you play the game. Trust me, guys, it all
okay.
makes sense when you play the game. There's not like you're not gonna go like third person shooter or anything like that. That doesn't happen. This is still Quantic Dream kills still keep their unique style.
Mm,
Even though you can. there's like the first few sort of chapters are kind of tutorial chapters, I guess. You're you sort of learn how to control Aiden. You learn about cover as well, and sort of the main buttons that you'll be using throughout the game. So, and uh, and this might be a positive and negative for some people. There's use of the six-axis stuff as well, so the motion stuff. I'm not sure if you enjoyed that in Heavy Rain, Gary, or was more of a hindrance.
More of a hindrance for me
Yeah.
personally. It just seemed a bit tacked on. I'm not going to dismiss it yet because I haven't obviously experienced Beyond yet, but
There's not a
I'm
lot of it, so I will say that there's not a lot of sort of moving the control bit up or down, and it's really slight movements anyway,
okay.
apart from a few sections. So yeah, it's not its implementation is not over the top, or
Okay.
and it actually doesn't. So from what I play so it doesn't feel gimmicky. It actually feels like yeah, that action actually meant something in relation to what's happening in the game.
That's a good sign then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so in terms of the story, that's what I've seen so far, without going into any in-depth spoilers or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the story so far seems absolutely superb, and that's nothing. Uh, it's no big surprise if you played Heavy Rain and the like. And there is an element of choice there, as we said before as well. Visually, stunning. And that's from the main menu all the way into the game as well. Ellen Page's likeness is superb.
Mm.
They've got her likeness spot on. That even like the way the hair moves and stuff is spot on. Even the other characters, some of the other characters look absolutely stunning as well. The environments at times may be a bit bland, but that's only a few particular sections that I played so far. There could be a bit more detail here and there, um, and there's some genuine moments of like you actually feel for Jodie. Uh,
Mm.
so yeah, it's kind of like I'm not gonna go and say it's like up there with like The Last of Us territory or anything like that. But it is like yeah, you're like oh shit, like yeah. So you kind of feel for her as a child kind of thing as well, and you understand why her actions you know later on. But yeah, I I don't want to ruin anything, so
You're teasing now, mate. You're teasing.
I don't want
You
to
just
say too I don't want to say too much. Um, is there anything else that you might want to ask in terms of gameplay wise or anything that you think that the guys might want to know about?
Yeah, I suppose in a way it's going to be it's got its similarities to Heavy Rain. Is there anything that you could say what is completely different from Heavy Rain in terms of the way it plays, or is it very similar in like its control sort of
The
methods
the
and
control scheme is very similar to Heavy Rain.
right? Okay,
There's absolutely no lie there. But as I said, the main difference is in terms of how Aiden comes into play and how you use that in conjunction with um, Jodie. Because
yeah, yeah,
essentially, there's more freedom, I'd say, in Beyond. In Heavy Rain, even though you can walk around and stuff, and you can do that in Beyond as well, you feel like you have a bit more freedom in terms of what you're doing. Uh,
right, yeah. Because Heavy Rain was sort of although it looked like you could go where you wanted, it sort of pushed you in that in a certain direction
yeah,
to do something, didn't it? So
and
yeah,
at certain points, even Beyond will do that. So when you're like sort of wandering around or having a look around in the environment stuff, it will try and push you towards certain because it's obviously trying to be a cinematic game,
yeah,
or it is a very cinematic game. So sorry, well, I'm not going to say it's trying. It is a very cinematic game. It tries and it succeeds. It's a very cinematic game from what I played so far, and obviously they want you to go a certain route. But you still feel like there's a bit more freedom in terms of that in Beyond,
wow.
which is good. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I can mention without talking about spoilers? There's a bit more gunplay as well, I guess, but again, it's more within the realms of the control scheme. It's like you're trying to think like you press R1. There is a cover mechanic as well, but again, it's only in certain scenarios you can use that. Um, but yeah, and Willem Dafoe's character is amazing as well, so I must add that as well. He's a really good actor himself. Um,
Incredible.
yeah, and in the game when he when his parts are in there, um, and you feel, and even though they're not related, like there's a real connection between Jody and his character's called Nathan. Um, so which kind of like led me to believe like is the two souls part of the title like it's called Beyond Two Souls? Is it two souls as in Jody and Aiden, or is it
Mm,
two souls as in Jody and Nathan?
Nathan, yeah,
So
interesting.
yeah, so that's a point to sort of take on and think about, I guess. But yeah, even though he's not her dad or anything like that, it seems like they've been they've been part of each other's lives for a long time almost. Um, so it feels like they're connected, and the connection on screen and when you're playing the game in the cutscenes and stuff is really really good. It's really good.
Mm. One thing I will ask actually,
Yeah.
regarding like because it's got that sort of tension feel,
Yes.
um, the music.
Oh,
Am I right in saying that Hans Zimmer is involved in Beyond Two Souls?
I believe so. I believe so, and he is incredible.
Yeah, I'm sure I read somewhere that he was. I don't think he does the whole sort of
I think the
score as such, but he's involved producing the music of some sort. He's involved in some way, but I'm not sure how much. But
yeah,
yeah, so music wise, it's very sort of tense, I can imagine, and
yes, especially the part that I was talking about towards the end of this particular preview code. Um, yeah, there's some really good some really good music going on in the background that kind of really keeps you invested in what's happening. Again, I'm trying to not use words that might ruin ruin certain things, but yeah, it's really really good. I wanted so when the preview code ended, I wanted to play more. I
that's
wanted
a good
to
sign.
yeah, I wanted to play more. I was like, oh, I really want to play more of this. But yeah, it's a story-driven game from Quantic Dream guys. I mean, what else do you need to know? It's just
You sort of know what to expect from
yeah,
Quantic Dream, don't you? So
yeah.
yeah, it sounds incredible either way.
Yeah, and going back to the visuals, it seems like they're getting what they can out of the PS3. Because if you go back and look at Heavy Rain now, it's even though it looks good, it doesn't look as good as you remembered, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Um, whereas the facial stuff in Heavy Rain was really good, the bodies didn't quite match up. In Beyond, the bodies match up to what's happening, on the characters' faces as well. So you kind of so there is a bit more believability there as well. Um, but again, it's a real step up visually, in yeah, compared to Heavy Rain. So um, that's a real plus as well. But yeah, really, really impressed. Really cannot wait to play review code or final code. Whoever's reading it for NGB is a very lucky person if it's not me. Um, so yeah, really can't wait. Gary, any final questions or final thoughts that you want to put out there?
I just can't wait for it. You've got what is it? October the 11th, is it?
Yeah,
It's released
I think it's
in
October. Yeah.
Europe. Yeah. It just looks fantastic. Like I say, I've seen bits and pieces at shows over the sort of last year or so, and it just every time just sort of wows me. It just looks fantastic. So looking forward to it, mate. Looking forward to it.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. So that's our shortish preview in video form of Beyond Two Souls. But yeah, stay tuned for to nextgengamingblog.com for more coverage for Beyond Two Souls and more previews, more videos, more everything. If you have any questions or if you want to ask anything, pop it in the comment section and I will try to get back to you guys. But Gary, pleasure again.
Thanks, man.
Awesome stuff. See you later, guys.
Cheers.